H-A-T. It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. On today's episode, we're not going to be doing the interviewing. Someone else is, the amazing Cayron Mann, who is just a phenomenal human being, just if we're being honest. But we're going to get right to that conversation about the adventures of Ben and Travis and the WorryCoaster. Oh, yeah, and we're also got Jacob Hennigan, who, speaking of talent. And we'll get right to that interview right after these important messages. This episode of the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast is presented by Faulkner University. Faulkner University is a private Christian liberal arts university based in Montgomery, Alabama, with a mission to provide an education anchored by not only intellect but also character and service. The Faulkner experience aims to educate the whole person. Every individual matters every day. We all want to become better versions of ourselves. No one wants to remain trapped where they are because of missed opportunities and unrealized dreams. At Faulkner University, we believe your dreams don't have an expiration date. We understand that you're looking for more than a degree. You want to find your niche and thrive in your career. Whether you're a high school senior just beginning your trek or an adult student looking for a better path, Faulkner is here to help guide your journey. Go to faulkner.edu to apply or get more info. That's faulkner.edu.
I am really glad to be here because I have the unique pleasure of speaking with some truly talented creatives, Ben and Travis and Jacob. And their storytelling is unique. Their visuals are captivating. I just want to tell you that the adventures of Ben and Travis and the WorryCoaster, this may be my own personal opinion, but it's one that's sure to inspire, entertain, and if you're not careful, bring on positive thoughts with readers of all ages.
And we didn't pay her to say that. We didn't.
Not a penny.
So, the check is in the mail.
That's right. But hey, I'm glad you're here because we're going to explore, brace yourselves, and, pull down your safety bar because we're going to explore the minds behind the art and the story with Ben and Travis.
Hennigan.
All right, y'all ready for some questions?
We are.
All right. These first questions, they may be for our authors, but I'm just curious, what inspired you guys to write this book?
It's a good question. I mean, we've talked about it for a while, and I don't remember which one of us brought up the idea the first time, like when we were talking about the adventures of Ben and Travis, and had no idea what we were going to do with that. But we kind of threw that idea around, and I do a lot of writing or a lot of reading to my groups at school. And so I do a lot of kids' books with them. And I don't know, somewhere along the way I got to thinking, look, I'm reading these books every day to these kids. And I love the way that the kids love to engage with them and the activities we do after them. And I thought, I think I could do something like this. And so Travis and I started talking about what we might do with that and how we might incorporate it. And so I think that's kind of where the inspiration came from, was just Travis and I did a lot of adventuring as kids and made up a lot of things and used bats and other stuff that just was laying around. And so we thought, why not do something with when we were kids, just running around, and maybe some things that would help people.
I think third grade at Mars Hill. I think I was at Mars Hill for maybe a year, and in third grade we did our kids' books, and I think mine was The Adventure of the Alabama Fan or something like that. I know that's shocking for anyone who knows me. And so that was kind of like, wow, this is kind of cool. And we did our own illustrations. I'm thankful that Jacob is here to make those a lot better than the ones I had in third grade. But that's probably where it all started for me.
And when we first started,
of course, who doesn't want to be a cartoon?
Well, yeah, a lot of times when we would talk about it, I kept thinking, well, I could, I always loved to draw, like Travis. We would sit around and draw and make our own little comic strips or whatever, and kind of always thought that might be the case. But alas, we went with Jacob Hennigan, and it's phenomenal. So we'll just leave it at that for the questions later.
This episode brought to you by Magic Mind, magicmind.com/BAT20. You can get up to 48% off your original subscription of Magic Mind. And Ben, I love it. I drove over today from Fayetteville, and I hit up my Magic Mind as I got in the car and entertained the kids all the way over here with annoying whatever I could come up with, maybe Aladdin or whatever we talked about. But no, it's a great energy drink. I get no jitter, which is the cool part. There's no crash. And so I can do interviews like this all day long if we want to.
And I like the flip side of it with the sleep elixir that they have, and that's what it's called. But it's nice. I'll take it before I go to bed and sleep through the night, wake up pretty energized and ready to go. So even on the nights that I don't get a lot of sleep. So it's been pretty cool too.
Yeah, you can probably hold Magic Mind accountable for all those texts y'all get at like 11 p.m. No, magicmind.com/BAT20. And full refund. You can even cancel via text message. That's how little of an obstacle it is. But you're not going to want to do that because it's pretty amazing stuff.
Well, what was it like collaborating with Jacob, with an artist, with an illustrator?
Well, I mean, he's a brilliant illustrator because he doesn't just draw things. He inspires the story of it too. So like there's a lot, we wrote the story and then Jacob looked at it and said, hey, because he helped write it too. So, I mean, we'll say that. I mean, there were bits and pieces of it that he said, hey, I think it would look better sound better if we did it this way. And then I can make the art do this. And, if you read the book without reading the words, the art tells a story in and of itself. Yeah. And I think that's the beautiful thing about collaborating with Jacob is he's got a mind beyond just, I'll draw a picture for you.
Camp Maywood, Jacob comes to me and he shows me these. I hope I'm describing this right. But the zombie Elvises. I don't know what it was, and you can describe it better than me. And I thought at that very moment, I may have looked at you immediately and went, we have to work together on something. But that was what it was. I was like, man, they've got to find something to work with Jacob on. And this has been so great.
So what was it like working with us might be the better question. He may be tired of that.
Yeah, I think we can check that. Yeah. What was it like? I mean, how did you approach this? And what was it like when they came to you and said, we've got this idea, or what do we do now?
I can always remember, ever since I showed good old Travis my Apocalypse Elvis drawings at Maywood, them saying like, hey, you need to do a t-shirt for us, or you need to do this for us, or you need to illustrate that for us. And then started kicking around the idea of a kid's book, and then now, thank the Lord, we got it off the ground and into people's hands. But Ben and Travis have been, no kidding, a dream to work with, because as an artist, I've had to collaborate with all kinds of people who would contact me and say, hey, I'd like this drawn, or I have a book idea, can you illustrate it? I have expertise as an artist, but also I went to college and have a minor in writing, and so I know a little bit. I'm not the most educated person in the world. I know a little bit about that and how it is all about communication, all about storytelling, and the words have to work together with the art. And so whenever, like Ben said, I said, well, if we tweak this here, or we change this sentence, and then that can build up to this, and we turn the page, and then this happens, he was like, absolutely, let's do it. Yeah. And so that was really great, because usually any type of creator that I have worked with in the past, they kind of treat me like, oh, you're just the artist. I am the brains behind this. You just draw the pictures. You make with the funny drawings. Yeah. And I'll do the thinking around here. But Ben and Travis both absolutely great to work with, very humble, no ego about them at all. They just want to tell the best possible story, and I think that we achieve that.
So what your degree is, what is it, sequential storytelling or something like that?
Yeah, that's the fancy talk for
right. But that kind of tells you it's more than just pictures.
Sequential storytelling, which that can translate into comic book art, right. That can translate into children's book art, any type of art where it is a sequence of pictures that communicate an overall idea. And then, like I said, my minor is in writing, which even more strengthens that whole the storytelling is what I really try to think about every time I put the pen to the page.
And you're letting readers in on a little bit of a secret that they're going to look forward to seeing how that artwork and that sequential process happens in this book.
Hopefully.
Oh, without a doubt. Another question for, I guess, well, this actually could be for either of y'all. But do you want to say anything about maybe the routine of writing? What was the routine like when you were writing this? Was this a book that kind of wrote itself, or was there a lot of, what do you think about this? Or, well, I think I just wrote myself into a corner. What was the process like?
I mean, I wrote the majority of it at the big beginning. I mean, I just kind of sat down and wrote the story because we've been talking about ideas and what we could do, and I just kind of sat down one night. Over the course of a few nights, but it was a lot of it in one night. Kind of the story comes to me, and then we tweaked it along the way. So it was. There was a couple of times I think where it was like, what are we going to do here? And these guys had some really great ideas that really brought it around. There was a couple, I think about the page that we talked about. Sometimes I'm worried over nothing at all. That page was a big, Jacob Hennigan's like, I really think we need to do this, and I'm going to draw it this way. And it was like so perfect. And I was kind of like, sure, let's go for it, and it ended up being a really great page and a really great section. So I don't know that there was a whole lot of sitting down with any kind of particular method as much as just, all right, here's where the story's starting. Here's kind of where we're going to end it, and how can we fill in some blanks along the way.
Were y'all big readers growing up?
I wasn't a big reader. I enjoyed some books and kind of got into it a little bit more as I got older. I don't know about Travis growing up, but he reads all the time now.
Yeah, I read a lot now, but the comic book and cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what's really cool. For some reason, when we unboxed it the first time, I don't know what I was expecting. But you can hear me on the video that we posted, like, oh, that's a good sized book right there. But I love the comic book feel to it because it does. It kind of makes. I know with my kids, they're upset with me that they don't have their own personal copy yet. I hope to fix that in the next few days that they can keep in their own room. But I think it makes them feel like they're older than they are, and so it kind of hits a nice little, I think, balance there where like even little kids can get something out of it, but also they feel like, oh, I'm reading a big kid's book because the pictures are so awesome and the meaning is there. But no, I wouldn't say I read a whole lot. And I think it comes out in the book. We had an active imagination. So
what were some of your
comic
favorites?
books.
You mentioned comic books. What were some of your favorites that you just kept on reading?
I mean, I'm a Spider-Man. I mean, that would probably be the main one, probably the only one that was suitable for me when I was 10 or 11 or whatever. But Spider-Man cartoons, it was G.I. Joe and Transformers and folks like that. So
I read a lot of comic books. I had stacks of them, X-Men and Spider-Man. But I was thinking today, one of the ones I love to read that was not really a comic book, but also not really a children's book per se. It was more of a comic strip. I love Calvin and Hobbes. So I spent a lot of time reading Calvin and Hobbes. I'd check those books out and kind of read through the thicker ones that they ended up putting together. But I always loved to catch them in the newspaper.
You did have that one big one. I think we read through a couple times when we were kids.
Well,
that was one of my favorites.
Bill Watterson will appreciate the shout out, no doubt.
Oh yeah, Bill. I mean, me as an artist, Calvin and Hobbes was definitely an influence on.
I think you mentioned that
my entire art, and very
center.
Specifically an influence on this book. Anytime y'all are outside climbing trees and running around in the woods and imagining and playing, I would go over my Calvin and Hobbes books and just pour over his big Sunday illustrations, full color, all of that.
How he utilizes the box and the frames.
Oh yeah.
He was. I mean, those are some of my favorites. So.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your favorites growing up?
Growing up, I was a big reader. I would read anything I could get my hands on. Me and my sister both. My dad would actually get mad at us because we'd always have our nose stuck in a book. And he would complain and say, what kind of kids? Like, usually you got to whoop the kids to make them read.
That's right.
But our kids, you got to whoop them to get them away from the books and do anything else. But we would always read in cartoons. You could probably tell by looking at the illustrations in the book. I'm big into Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, old Disney, all those golden age theatrical animations. Big inspiration on me. And I would, like, we would have Tom and Jerry on VHS, and I would watch it as a kid and hit the pause button and then look and find the perfect frame of Tom and Jerry and then draw that. And then I would hit play and wait till another cartoon come on and hit pause again and then draw that frame and get to where I could draw these characters from memory. And that's kind of the beginnings of how I taught myself to draw, because I was studying at the feet of the master animators.
You really
That's
were.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I mean, that translates into my line quality and my ideas as far as like action lines and guiding your eye and how I communicate. Like when the roller coaster is going around, the expressions on the roller coaster's face, I feel are very
Yes.
like Tom and Jerry inspired.
Yeah.
All my kids look that they've noticed that so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, look at it. It's this and that. And I mean, that's the big thing that Daniel points out is how the roller coaster changes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so that's been really cool.
The roller coaster has, Ben and Travis, in the eyesight, in the hindsight, but then going forward, wondering, what can I do to, what can I do to them?
Mhm.
How can I worry Ben more?
Mhm.
So I love that. I really do. I wonder if y'all would mind talking a little bit about what the publishing process was like for maybe any.
The worst
That's
part.
you.
The worst part.
Yeah.
And I would echo with what he said about as far as the three of us working together.
Oh,
It was amazing, and I have a crazy imagination, as anyone who knows me, and Ben's right there with me. And for Jacob to take that and make it 10 times better than even if it was in my brain, I mean, that's pretty impressive. But it is a process to the publishing, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I've even had people reach out to me and go, "How did y'all do this? What would you?" And I'm like, "Well, we literally jumped in, and it was kind of like, let's figure this thing out as we go." And I think now, as we get ready for maybe future projects, I think that'll be a lot smoother this next time along. But I guess that's been the major part that I did, other than botching it quite a bit. But
I guess that's a point where, you've been in control of the creating and in control of the writing. And then that point, there's a little bit, I would imagine, that you don't really feel like there's a
hand it
control.
off, yeah.
well, I can't imagine what it would be like years ago prior to the internet to get it done.
Yeah.
That
I guess
has
so.
helped, but it's also so much of it has been trial and error, and been plenty of error on my end from that aspect. But a lot of it is getting it together and just getting it to the printer. And man, it's been kind of a wild ride on that
Well, I guess
process.
that was a coaster in itself.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the pressure to get it to where we can make sure it gets in the hands of the people that really, the folks who pre-ordered, who really put faith in the project without really a whole lot to put their hands on. So that's been the biggest thing, is people believing in it, and we can get it to this point. Jacob, you
Well, I was going to say, as far as finding somebody online that will take care of the publishing for us. If you can find somebody online that'll say, "Hey, pay me this much money and I'll take care of all this for you," you can probably handle that yourself.
It's safe to say that this has really been a journey. It's been
it
been a
has.
real learning experience.
because you want it, and I'm not even the one who drew the thing, right? But you want it to not mess up that part, because that's really what draws people in to even see it. And so
Pun intended.
that's been probably the most difficult obstacle of the whole thing, is making sure that it looks the way it's supposed to look.
So you get a lot of emails back and forth. Here we got it, and you're like, "No, you need to tweak this. You got to finish this." But Jacob's done a
You
really
gotta be
good
a little bit
job.
of bulldog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he knows exactly how he wants to look and how he wants the colors to look, and even if I look at it and go, "Oh yeah, that looks pretty good," he's going to go, "No, this is because it's more than just the words; it's the picture." And so that's been great, because he's had that part.
We've had feedback, and I don't know that, Jacob, we've even shared it with you, but we've had feedback from people that are like, "Man, this looks so good." And there's a part of it that there is a Christian aspect to it, and people sometimes just immediately go, "Oh, well, it's going to be subpar. It's not going to be as good." And everything we've heard is like, "No, this looks amazing. Like, this is the type of stuff we need to be taken seriously in that world." And so, man, so much of that largely that Jacob Hennigan's doing. So
What's that been like to see people when they started looking at it? I mean, to see people, maybe they received it because they'd already purchased it, or maybe they're looking at it considering the purchase. And I don't know. I mean, I was just curious, what's it been like seeing people, the reception of it?
That's kind of the sad part is like Jacob hasn't got to see that. Just well, I guess your mom and your sister, so maybe that's the case. But
And they're going to go, that's terrible work,
Yeah.
Jacob.
yeah, but like we were in Dallas and we had the first few copies shipped to us out there, so we did get to experience
Oh,
that, and it was
And we had people
really
come,
cool.
back out and said, well, somebody told us we needed to buy this book, that it was really good. So that was really cool to hear. And then we've gotten some messages. I've read it to a couple of classes at school, and the kids
I think the kids, that's
they've
the,
kind of gawked at it like, oh, wow, they liked the
That
pictures.
looks like y'all.
yeah, that's been probably the biggest blessing is to see the kids. A couple of them at Dallas come out and they're like, "This is awesome! You should do it. When's the next one?" I mean, that's the first thing. When's the next one? Which I think is a great compliment.
Yeah,
It really
absolutely.
is.
My favorite story from your, I guess, sharing with your sister was at some point you said that, she's looking at the book and she goes, Jacob, did you mean to do this? And he looked at her and said, I don't do anything without meaning to do it. Something along that line.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's great.
None of the art happened by accident.
Well, what do you know?
Yeah.
You were talking about how what Jacob does brings so much life to it, and so I was wondering if you could talk to us about the colors. About you've got the story there. You even collaborated not just on the artwork but on the story as well with your writing expertise. But when it comes to the color palette, when it comes to creating the mood, creating the transitions, you mind speaking to that a little bit and telling us a little
Absolutely.
bit about the magic?
From the very beginning, I started with drawing a picture of Ben and a picture of Travis, and I wanted to make sure that they look like Ben and Travis in real life, and also that they look different from each other.
Yeah.
And so it's a lucky thing that Ben wears glasses and Travis usually doesn't. Because if nothing else, people will say, "Oh, this one has glasses and that one doesn't, so this must be him."
Yeah, and then you just remove beards and
then there they are.
Yeah.
Except on the back, you get us with their beards
Exactly.
as grown-up people.
Yeah. That was actually very fun drawing Ben and Travis as kids, and then for the back of the book where the little author bios, getting to draw them as adults, that was very fun. But we're getting off track. I started out, I said, I want like Ben's hair to be different from Travis's hair. I want Ben's nose to be different from Travis's nose. Ben's ears to be different from Travis's ears. And I'm sorry Travis ended up with big,
He's
silly
got the big
Dumbo
old ears.
ears.
Accurate.
Love them.
Not at all based on any
Accurate.
real life. Not at all.
Accurate.
I
grew into them.
somebody
Yeah,
somebody
He's
somebody
sorry as a
needed big
kid.
ears and somebody needed small ears.
Yeah, because that's what caricatures are, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then I thought, well, here's what their clothes are going to be. I want it to be recognizable, even though they're basically just wearing a t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. I want it to be recognizable. Ben's shirt is always going to be green, and Travis's shirt is always going to be that Alabama red and white. And so from there, I thought, well, green is a cool color, and red is a warm color. And so in the imaginary world, Travis's colors are going to lead more towards the warmer end of the spectrum. So a lot of reds and purples and maybe some pinks in there. And then Ben's colors are going to be more blues and greens and that end of it. And in between there is purple. And so purple is kind of the color that, it's the glue that holds everything together, as far as anytime they're in the quote-unquote imaginary world. There's always going to be purple in the background. There's always going to be something purple going on. So purple is very clearly presented on the front cover. And so from there, I had built a kind of a color scheme. And I can, like when Ben is by himself imagining, it's all blue in the background. I just went from there and let that colors help tell the story that way.
Yeah.
And then even when they're not in the quote-unquote imaginary world, I did use a little bit of mood lighting. So like if Ben is feeling sad, he's colored blue because,
Okay, so his skin tone actually changed.
Yes, so like his skin will be blue, his hair will be blue, his shirt will be blue.
Yeah.
But you can still tell that it's Ben. It's just tinted blue. Or if he gets really worked up, he's really worried about something and he's getting very, very passionate, I tint him a little bit red because that's like a very passionate, getting worked up color.
Right.
And so the colors help me tell the story. Every single aspect of, it's every single tool in my toolbox trying to help tell the story together is my thought process.
Was there ever an illustration that, I guess a lot of them almost, I don't want to make it sound it was simple, but a lot of this, it seems like as you went through it, it was just almost, you knew where you were going to go. Was there a particular illustration that you just kept revising, just kept trying to get it right?
The hardest thing to do the entire time that they are in the imaginary world and they are rhyming and the roller coaster is going, from the time that they get on the coaster and it's the big page with the
Yes.
tornado to the very end where they get off of the coaster and the sun is rising and Ben is happy again. Spoiler alert. It is one continuous track. Whenever you open the book, it looks like just a 2-page spread where like, oh, this page on the left and this page on the right connect with each other. But actually it is a 10-page spread where the pages left and right connect with each other, but then page 21 connects to page 22, page 22, 23,
And to your publishing
23 to
question.
24. Yeah.
To your publishing
Yes.
question, and that's a
We had
big
some
deal.
issue
I
with
mean,
them,
that's
yeah.
that I can see where, if I didn't know Jacob and had not had multiple conversations, I could see where that would be difficult. Like, who even takes under that undertaking? But Jacob takes that, and it's phenomenal. It's such a great detail that I want to make sure we covered
Yeah, no,
in
that's
the episode,
that's good
because
stuff.
that's really been incredible. But just those details, it's hard to tell somebody that you've never had an eye-to-eye conversation with that, hey, we need this to do this thing. And, that's some of the publishing headache, but you want to get it right. Like, people have pre-ordered, and you want that look when they get it, like, whoa, this was even better than we imagined. And that's 100% right now. So
hopefully that's what we keep getting.
now, if we could just do that with our faces, right? If we didn't let everybody down.
We've kind of been picking on you a little bit, but I was wondering if I could kind of keep you talking, and if there's any advice to those Illustrator wannabes that, I think I want to go into art. I think I want to go into, sequential storytelling. Any advice for people who are thinking about doing that?
Draw every day.
Mhm.
And don't just draw the stuff that you like to draw, because I could sit around all day and do cartoons of Ben and Travis just running around in a blank vacuum with no background or nothing that they're interacting with. But draw the hard stuff too. Practice drawing everything.
Yeah.
So if you don't like drawing cars, sit down and draw 100 cars. If you don't like drawing buildings, sit down and draw 100 different buildings.
Don't draw what you think you're good at.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And another big thing, a lot of aspiring artists that I have talked to love to hear compliments. And there is nothing wrong with getting a compliment. If I never heard a compliment in my life, I probably wouldn't be an artist, But it gets to a certain point where you say, okay, I know I'm pretty good, but what am I doing wrong? Because you have to know your mistakes in order to learn from them and get better. And a lot of aspiring artists do not want to hear the negative feedback.
Growth mindset. We've talked about that before.
Absolutely.
Have
A growth mindset, yes. And so when I was in art school, which I was fortunate enough to go to art school, I would go up to my professors and I would say, hey, whenever it comes time to grade my stuff, whenever you're critiquing my stuff in front of the class, I want you to pull no punches, go hard on me. I want to know what I'm doing wrong. Don't hold back, because I want to fix every single issue I possibly can. And so get into the nitty gritty, get into the weeds, start nitpicking me over stuff, because that's going to make me better.
That's huge. That's great advice.
Amazing.
It's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which,
In anything that you're doing,
just
really.
so-
yeah, I mean, yeah, that applies to all life.
We're all
Yeah.
like,
I mean, like,
oh, yeah.
It's like the old thing about
do the hard thing.
yeah.
That's right.
If you talk to the Lord and pray for strength, He's going to put you in the gym. And you gotta be like that about everything. But
You're right.
if you are an
Write that
aspiring
down.
artist, if you're an aspiring artist,
right.
that definitely applies
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about the future. What have y'all got in the works?
I'm really excited about it, because it brings. I think that it was odd for me to be in this one the voice of reason, because it was usually the other way around. We were growing up. Ben was the one always comforting me and giving me a lot of comfort from that, or getting me through stuff. But I don't know how much we want to share, but it's out there.
I'm ready.
You know, the title is The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Joyrider.
The Joyrider, yes.
You heard it
And,
here, yeah.
So it's going to have a lot to do with my older brother, who has cerebral palsy and stuff like that. And, I think it's cool. He's going to be 50 in March, and so for him to kind of be the forefront and some of the things that we've learned from him throughout life. But you know, that's just exciting stuff, and you know, that has a special thing for me. And I don't know that it's completely done in the writing process, but it's working on it.
Yeah, we've put some stuff to paper, if you will, and I think maybe started a little bit on the drawing.
Yes.
For the front cover. Hopefully have that to kind of show to people soon.
Thank you. Great questions. The effort that you put in for that is pretty awesome. So
Enjoyed it.
we should have just Cayron on interviewing people, and then we'll just throw our name on the podcast. And be like,
yeah, thank you guys for all that you do, and we appreciate you guys for listening. We appreciate you guys for supporting us through the book and all the other weird, crazy projects that we throw out, and we're looking forward to maybe another one soon.
Sounds great.
benandtravis.com/books. Check them all out.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.